Oh, I hate to mention the word golf, but enjoyed a visit this morning with Dave Osted. He said my chances of making 30-foot putts, 3 of them in a round, would be about 5%. With that, my buddy Ron Nelson, he said, we need to play golf, said maybe we don't need to play this year. So, good morning.
You're 39s, putting up 39s. You're going to take all my money and make me look bad.
So.
Oh,
we hadn't talked about money.
Oh.
You know, I might have shot a 37 if it was money involved. But,
okay. Well.
You know, with a 20 handicap, I can be dangerous.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to talk about new rules and some things that kind of stir the pot a little bit this morning.
It stir the pot, it does, and obviously Democrats versus Republicans, one of the topics always is regulation. One side wants more, one side wants less in the banking industry. And specifically, this actually pertains to credit unions, Bill, versus banks. And so naturally, if the free throw lines are in different places for similar industries,
and the basket's a foot lower,
yeah, the one somebody's going to feel slighted. And so what's happened is kind of in the spirit of not pumping so much regulation into what some people might consider fairly simple commercial real estate deals, say under $1 million. Is that, why do we need all this regulation? Well, part of the, reason for that, according to regulators and so forth, is, we've been in crises that's tipped our economy over by, lax regulations and so forth. So anyway, in the credit union industry now, they have recently got a change in their regulations in mid-July, a rule change showing that they don't need appraisals on commercial properties from $250,000 to $1 million. So,
what's your thought?
Kind of mixed.
Because you and I just talked a little bit, and you wouldn't be the first one that said, why did we need an appraisal for that?
I mean, I'm private sector, and so private sector always hates more regulation.
Yeah.
I recognize the need for oversight and, keeping our economy, somewhat in check. The big question is just how much of that. So right now, the banks have their regulations, if I'm understanding banking rules correctly, because theirs just changed last year too. It used to be $250,000 in value for them. That got moved up to $500,000. But if the credit unions don't require appraisals for properties under $1 million, and the banks do for anything over $500,000, there's kind of a niche there in that $500,000 to $1 million range. And of course, the wackadoodles are saying, the credit unions are going to corner the market, on that niche of the market.
That's a new word for the show.
I probably shouldn't use that.
No, that was good. That was good.
But anyway, again, the appraisal industry, of course, is crying foul a little bit because it's potentially threatening their livelihood a little bit. So, who can blame them? And so it's just kind of an interesting thing to observe. But, So
let me ask one simple question. Yeah. And it's always on the residential real estate side.
Sure. Yep.
It's always in the best interest to have the most information for the person buying and selling the property. Mm-hmm. Is it different in commercial real estate?
Well, if you're talking information pertaining to an appraisal, again, I'll get off on a slight tangent here about appraisals.
It's Friday.
There are folks that sometimes we're involved in a transaction right now. We just put another property on the market with our company. And this group said, we have an appraisal for X. End of sentence. Kind of like the implication was, so we don't need your valuation as brokers because we have an appraisal. And in our world, the two don't always match up. In other words, a broker,
vested interest.
A broker might come up with a different valuation than an appraisal. What I say about the appraisals,
comparables.
Well, and what I say about the appraisals sometimes is people get an appraisal. Sometimes they look at it and they put it in the drawer. The difference between that and a commercial broker valuation on the property, which sometimes people loosely call appraisals. We're not appraisers. We just provide a broker valuation. But the difference with our valuation versus an appraiser sometimes is we put a valuation together for a property owner and they look at it. They don't put it in the drawer like an appraisal. They throw it back to us and say, okay, Tiger, now go out and prove it. So but the point is, in no way am I suggesting the appraisal number, if they're different, might be wrong. Sometimes appraisals are done for different purposes, and they're absolutely right, and yet a broker could have a different number. Oftentimes, I mean, the broker number is typically, what can I sell it for right now? What is the value that I can convert that building into cash for, right now? And like I said, we've got to be accountable as brokers to our number. If I'm telling an owner your property's worth X, they don't expect X less 20% or something like that. They're going to want us to try to achieve the number that, we're predicting it's worth. So anyway, that's kind of a difference between appraisals and broker valuations, but appraisals are necessary to get a deal closed, to get a loan on a property and all that. So these new rules kind of having this lack of need for an appraisal up to $1 million in the credit union side of the industry is creating some interesting dynamics, let's just say.
Storage units, and I'm going to throw in one of the variables on this as you start talking about maybe we're overbuilt nationwide.
Well, that's a category we don't talk about too much. Candidly, I, as a broker, don't know that much about the storage unit business. My old company, a gentleman in the office had a storage unit property, and we used to get aggravated at him because, and this is 15 years ago, but everybody's coming into the office to pay their $40 or $60 storage unit thing, and of course they've got a story with it, and we got to listen to the story, and it's taxing our administrative staff and all that over these stupid storage units, and so I kind of had a negative impression on the industry, but my gosh, it's so... technology has really modernized that industry to where, you don't even need to have people. Everything can be automated to where you're checking in with a card or punching in your number. You're on cameras everywhere. Your payments are debited electronically, and all that. And so it's been a popular. Have you ever taken, say, the T exit 73 and gone, it'd be west or turning right if you're, coming, heading south on I-29? And back in that northwest quadrant of that intersection, it is a city of storage units. Have you seen that ever?
Yes.
I mean,
I've been there for other things.
Oh my gosh! If you don't pay attention to something like that, it's kind of right across the street from where all the fireworks stands are. But oh my gosh, just one time, we've had a lot of interest as our brokerage firm, Nelson Commercial Real Estate, for buying storage units, buying land to put up storage units. And, we're just kind of scratching our heads because, like I said, I don't have a huge understanding of the industry that, when are the wheels going to fall off on this industry? It's crazy, but it's been hot, but it's kind of finally starting, at least nationally, to get overbuilt.
All right, I promised I would let you identify yourself so people can call you in the middle of our interview.
Oh.
We're about two-thirds of the way through. And who are you?
It's our company. I'm Ron Nelson Commercial Real Estate, and we've done this program for what? How many years? 5+ years,
6
anyway.
Years, yeah.
Just every Friday at about this time, about 9:30. We just kind of touch on the industry. It's not a commercial for our company. Certainly, we'll sprinkle in some things that we're doing, but people, and I equate the reason for this program is to just, on a massive scale, which by massive I'm talking about your huge audience for the It's Your Business program.
It's gotten bigger through the years.
And I get a lot of people talking about it, but it honestly, people on the streets, whether it's Rotary, whether it's whatever, saying, hey, what's going on with X? And I recognize you do that with Jody and, just kind of trying to keep your listeners on top of what's going on in business, and we just do it in the commercial real estate sector.
All right, stock market, kind of on a roller coaster this week. Lots of ups and downs, lots of talk, lots of ugliness. What are you going to say? Well,
this, as I just earlier stated, commercial real estate program. So why are we talking about the stock markets? I don't know anything about stocks, but yeah, it does. The question is always the connection, because it's not a direct correlation. It's not a direct connection. You kind of almost look at it in a chicken and egg fashion. Is the real estate market going to go down if the stock market goes down? Or is the stock market going down because there's signs of the real estate market that might appear to be in danger, and therefore that's the stock market's reaction? I would generally say that. I would say the real estate market is the egg. In other words, kind of where it starts. And as things potentially get a little questionable or whatever, stock market is so jittery, that sometimes they react, many times they overreact. I would have a lot less hair than I even do now if my fortunes were tied to the up and down effects of the stock market. I mean, today it's already up 250, so it's rebounding from some of the steep losses earlier in the week. Again, it gets very political. The Democrats are saying, the economy's tanking. The Republicans are saying the Democrats are overstating all these fears, and you never know what to really believe. But clearly, we do see is it pronounced Dalio? Ray Dalio? He's kind of one of the big gurus of the stock market, has the world's largest hedge fund. The name. Yeah. He says we got a 40% chance of going into recession before 2020. I think we all have been talking about it, kind of expecting it. In a certain sense, I'm just kind of saying, let's get it over with. I mean, there are some things in our town that are overheated, construction. Prices have really gone up and things like that. So, I'm already starting to look at silver linings, saying, okay, if it does come, what are some of the upsides that can come from a downturn? And, some things like that might, be okay. But, again, like I said, I'm not looking for it or I'm not expecting it or wanting it. But, if the inevitable's coming, maybe let's just get it over with. Let's prepare for, the inevitable, be prepared, so it's a very soft landing like we've had a lot of times in our very strong market.
Ron Nelson Commercial Real Estate, how do they find you?
Our website is kind of a shortcut for our full company name, so it's just ncommercial.com, and on there is all our phone numbers, email addresses, and information about us, our properties, and I think even these podcasts of our radio show is on our website, so ncommercial.com.
We do this about 8 or 9 minutes each week. What if you and I were on a golf course for 4 hours?
Could be dangerous, all the wisdom in one golf cart.
Yeah, I don't know what it would do to your golf game or to mine, but we'll have to find out.
Would we need security detail just because?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, we would.
Looking forward to that.
We'll do that soon when we get back. Back to school sprint. They want to talk this morning. Let's see what's new there.